Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Friday, the 17th of January 2025. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down just a touch today to 8,310 points. Industrials did best, while the financials and telcos were among the worst, though it wasn't really a big trading day. Among the large caps, the banks were sold off, having had a pretty good week. Commonwealth Bank, National Australia Bank, Westpac and ANZ were all down around 1.5%. BHP and Fortescue Metals Group both ended higher. Some of the tech stocks, WiseTech Global, REO and Pro Medicus, ended lower, while the retailers were mixed. In economic news today, the official Chinese growth rate for last year was announced, 5%, right on target, following some pretty big stimulus packages at the end of last year. 2025 is looking somewhat problematic for China, given the ascension of Donald Trump and his tariff rhetoric. Story number 2, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the anti-Semitic attack in Sydney's eastern suburbs overnight is an outrage that must be met with the strongest possible action. Residents of Dover Heights in Sydney's eastern suburbs awoke to find cars graffitied, set on fire, and a home splashed with red paint. The home used to be owned by the high-profile Executive Council of Australia Jewry co-CEO, Alex Richin. Mr Albanese said the anti-Semitic attack went against everything that Australia stands for. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke says the anti-Semitic attack in Sydney is a serious crime with matching penalties, and the government has its best agencies working to hunt down the perpetrators. Story number 3, 2 of the biggest mining companies in the world, Australia's Rio Tinto and Swiss-headquartered Glencore, have been discussing a potential merger in what would be the industry's biggest ever deal. It's a long way from being a done deal, with Bloomberg reporting that there were talks, though it's now unclear if they're live. Rio is the world's second biggest miner, valued at $105 billion US. That's behind BHP. That's at $126 billion US. Glencore is valued at $55 billion US. Both Glencore and Rio own some of the best copper mines in the world. However, Rio, like BHP, still depends heavily on iron ore to drive its profit at a time when China's decade-long construction boom is drawing to an end. Glencore, which previously proposed a merger with Rio in 2014, has been among the most aggressive deal makers in the sector. Rio's share price closed lower today. Story number 4, a SpaceX Starship rocket broke up in space minutes after launching from Texas this morning, forcing airline flights over the Gulf of Mexico to alter course to avoid falling debris. It will also set back Elon Musk's flagship rocket program, according to a report on Reuters. SpaceX Mission Control lost contact with the newly upgraded Starship 8 minutes after liftoff from South Texas. It was carrying its first test payload of mock satellites, but no crew. Video shows orange balls of light streaking across the sky over the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince, leaving trails of smoke behind. At Miami International Airport, some flights were grounded, dozens of commercial flights diverted to other airports or altered course to avoid potential debris. The Federal Aviation Administration said it had briefly slowed and diverted planes around the area where space debris was falling, but normal operations had since resumed. And story number 5, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said a deal to return hostages held in the Gaza Strip has been reached after his office had said earlier there were last-minute snags in finalising a ceasefire that would pause 15 months of war. Mr Netanyahu said he would convene his security cabinet later today, and the government would then approve the long-awaited agreement. The pause in fighting in the Gaza Strip will result in dozens of hostages held by militants in Gaza being released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. It would also allow hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians to return to the remains of their homes in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes killed at least 72 people in the war-ravaged territory in the last 36 hours. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 17th of January 2025. Make sure you hit follow on the podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.